speak now to Mike Touche, who's the head of national tax for Mazars. Mr. Touche, thank you so much for joining us. I think the big question is, are we going to see an increase in personal income tax?
Morning, Annika. Morning to the viewers. Lovely to be here with you. I think what we should possibly just consider is the overall sentiment towards tax increases within the country. So from an individual perspective, the sentiment is, and it's also been telegraphed by National Treasury, that any increases in taxes for individuals is not going to give us the commensurate increase in revenue that one would expect.
Why
Clearly,
is that?
I think that, well, our tax rates are high. I think consumers are really under pressure. And, you know, I don't think the economy is really ticking over. You mentioned high unemployment. So the PAYE take is really going to be under pressure. So, yeah, I think on an individual basis, I don't think there's going to be too much scope to increase taxes. But I do think what they will do, as they did partially in previous years, they have not given us any relief for inflation. So they haven't adjusted the tax brackets to take into account inflation. On the corporate side, if you look at it, our tax rate is 28%. The world average is 23.6%. You've got places like the UK, the US, which are going to be below 20%. So we're not a very attractive jurisdiction for, from a tax perspective. And if we're really wanting to attract foreign direct investment and those type of investments from foreigners, that's something that we would like to attract. And tax is something that, it's not the only thing that investors look at, but it is an aspect. And we possibly, if we really want to get this economy going, it's something that we've been saying for a while, and I think some other commentators also saying, we should possibly actually be looking at a reduction in our corporate tax rates.
Why a reduction in corporate tax?
In order to attract foreign direct investment to create those jobs that we desperately need in this country.
Talk to me about an increased fuel levy and sin taxes, because that's where the Minister does probably have room to manoeuvre. I
think you're right, and I think the sentiment within the country after all of the alcohol, I wouldn't say abuse, but high usage, it's possibly politically, sentimentally correct for him to start increasing those, maybe way above inflation. So I definitely think sin taxes, yeah, normal. Every year we get the increases. Fuel levy more than likely going to increase as well. That's a hard one. Fuel prices are starting to go up. The rand's fairly stable, but oil prices are slowly starting to tick up. But yes, I do think those indirect stealth taxes are going to be increased quite easily. The other thing that has been mooted is, do we have a one-off levy, almost like we did in 94, 95, a transition levy where they put in? That's a very easy tax to collect and to actually put into the system. It's just purely a percentage of your normal tax. So I think that's something that could well be on the cards, a solidarity levy type arrangement. Again, individuals are under pressure, but that is definitely an option, and it possibly is something that the Minister might be tempted to go along with.
Thank you so much. Well, that is the National Head of Tax at Mazars, Mike Touche. And the overall sentiment seems to be that there's probably not going to be an increase in personal and corporate tax, but you are going to see a fuel level, a big increase in sin taxes, and perhaps some sort of tax revenue surprise. Despite the lockdown, the shortfall of 300 billion may have been an overestimation there. So there may be some relief coming our way in terms of tax revenue for the first quarter, and we'll have to just wait and see in terms of those sin taxes. I just think that that's the only place that the Minister really has to manoeuvre at this stage. Back to you, Darren.
And I think, Annika, one of the big questions now will be if there is some relief in terms of what's coming from the tax revenue side, what will it be used for? Hopefully it will be directed to this massive COVID-19 vaccine rollout. We'll have to wait and see. We'll catch up with you a little bit later on. Thank you very much for this hour. Annika Larsen talking to us there in Cape Town, looking at all matters tax ahead of this afternoon's budget speech by Tito Mboweni, Mr. Moneybag.